President Cyril Ramaphosa will testify in the July Unrest hearings on the 1st of April. Today, the sitting heard that government did not have a clue of what was going on as the violence raged on. That's the view of Media Monitoring Africa, which says the state, including intelligence, didn't seem to be clued up about the threat. MMA's William Bird also testified that disinformation on social media also played a huge role in fueling further violence. Crisalda Lewis, SABC News senior reporter, has more. Very good afternoon to you, Crisalda. What else came out from those hearings today?
Well, Ntsika, let me just bring you up to speed about what's taking place now. Today is, in fact, the last day of the hearings after 2 weeks of testimony from government ministers, civil society, as well as community leaders in those areas that were affected in Gauteng. You must recall that this was the second leg of the hearings that first started in KwaZulu-Natal and had come back here to Gauteng, which was also affected. We saw residents from Soweto as well as Alexandra take the stand about how those areas had been affected in that several days of violence that had taken place. And indeed, as you correctly point out, President Cyril Ramaphosa, we have now confirmation from the Human Rights Commission. He will be testifying in these hearings on the 1st of April. So while the hearings have come to an end now, it seems that the Human Rights Commission was able to get a date for the President to appear next month. So we'll be back again next month to hear from the President about what exactly took place at the time, what exactly did government know, how did government respond to the unrest that was taking place on the ground. As you heard today, Media Monitoring Africa's William Bird, who was testifying, basically said, from the looks of things, government simply didn't have a clue of what was taking place on the ground, including intelligence. And this is quite important, in particular, because this is not the first time that this view has been shared. We've seen testimony here at the Commission of Inquiry, not Commission of Inquiry, but at the hearings themselves, about the fact that there seemed to have been a lack of intelligence, that police did not act the way that they should have in response to the violence that was taking place. Hence, we saw the kind of loss of life and destruction as well. What William Bird also told the hearings here this morning is that social media also fueled extensively the violence that we saw taking place. Misinformation and disinformation also played a critical part. He gave examples of a number of tweets that had been sent out, those purporting to sympathize with the former President Jacob Zuma. You would know, of course, that some of the testimony we heard here at the hearings is that what ignited the violence was the Constitutional Court's judgment to incarcerate former President Jacob Zuma for failing to appear before the Commission of Inquiry into state capture. So it brings to an end 2 weeks of hearings in which we've heard from, we saw Ayanda Dlodlo, the former state security minister, say that enough intelligence was given to the necessary institutions to act on what was expected to happen. I mean, as far back as some time ago already, she had indicated that there had been a build-up of what they could see on the ground would have been something that was going to pose a significant threat to the stability of the country. And it seems that the South African Police Service did not act on that. And remember, during the course of this as well, Nzinga, in that while police had come under intense scrutiny about their failure to act on what the former State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo had said she had provided to police, in the wake of that, we saw the National Police Commissioner Kehla Sithole get the boot. While we hear from the presidency that it was a mutual agreement to let him go, there had been an understanding that it seemed as if, on the face of it, that there were quite a number of things that had built up to that, because the police minister himself seemed to have cast quite a lot of blame on the National Police Commissioner. He basically said that he was nowhere to be found during the July hearings, and that you would know that at that particular level, he was supposed to give a lot of direction to the law enforcement agencies that were to deal with the violence that we saw on the ground. So all of that happening while the hearings themselves were sitting. But now, at this particular point, as head of state, President Cyril Ramaphosa, you would know also, he had said recently that there were going to be quite a number of changes and beefing up of, state security apparatus, if I may, in order to deal with some of the challenges that have been highlighted as a result of what had happened in July. So it'll be very interesting to hear from the President on the 1st of April about what exactly government knew. When did they act? Was there intelligence that was given to him? Because you must recall as well that the former State Security Minister, Ayanda Ndlovu, would have had those kinds of discussions with the President about what she was hearing on the ground, because as most would agree, and in the words of William Byrd, this was certainly a threat on the democratic state, him also indicating that it certainly seemed like this was a coordinated effort by those who were behind this to be able to, carry out this kind of unrest. Yesterday we heard from the Justice and Correctional Services Minister, who also indicated that there certainly seemed to be some kind of coordination. He also bemoaned the fact that those who seemed, or the masterminds behind what happened in July, or high-profile individuals as well, seem not to have been arrested. You know, there are a number of people which, according to the Justice Minister, says those cases are still in the system. Some have already been finalized, but in addition to that, it doesn't seem like high-profile persons who were actively involved on social media in, calling for the intensification of the action that we saw. None of those individuals have been arrested. He says that while he doesn't want to be critical, I guess, of his colleagues within the police, that there certainly needs to be an effort where those who are the masterminds behind what happened are arrested. So the community members as well, talking about a number of social and economic conditions that exacerbated the situation that we saw, because in the areas in Zinga that had been affected, there are a number of underlying issues where you would walk into these communities in Alexandra and in Soweto, areas where my colleagues and I had been based, and a number of socioeconomic conditions would allow for people to participate in the kind of looting that we saw, because there's simply no employment. While there isn't a justification for that, it made it simply easier for them to participate in this kind of unrest that we saw. So I guess we'll get a sense from the President then on the 1st of April, that's of course next month, about what then a government knew, how to react, whether it was enough, and what will the country do to ensure that this does not happen again. Certainly William Byrd believes today that there needs to be some kind of coordinated communication between various structures within government and civil society to make sure that this does not happen. A task team of some sort that he mentioned to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Social media has been widely used to try and deal with these aspects. We'll certainly hear from the President in Zinga then about what government knew, how it reacted, whether they thought it was enough, whether the President got enough intelligence, whether the National Police Commissioner, had acted in a manner that he was supposed to give direction to the South African Police Service on the ground to make sure that we were able to deal with the situation. And what assurance can he give South Africans that we will not see a repeat of what we saw in July, where more than 300 people were killed in Gauteng as well as KwaZulu-Natal?
Crisalda Lewis, just wrapping up proceedings for the month there for us. Of course, as she said, the President back there on the 1st of April. Now, when we come back, we're going to be celebrating the life of Mama Miriam.